الله الكبير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله الكبير. We are truly indebted to God for giving us this opportunity, and we are here at because of His grace and mercy and His infinite love and generosity that He has towards us. So we should be grateful for this opportunity and should be always on the best behavior, that all of these things are good for us, and God doesn't need it. We are the ones who need it, and so God has seen it fit for us that to be here, that we are here today, and so this is another huge blessing that He's bestowed upon us today. So act of gratefulness and thankfulness is about life quality, and we have to follow His path, which is the only path available, the straight path, and the easiest path to get to God, and so there is no complication in this path, and so if we are devoted to God alone, we have to take that path and make sure that we do not deviate from that path. Today, what I wanted to discuss with you, let me see if I can go ahead and find this. Let's see. Yep. I'm going to devote both of these units to just the mathematics, and we'll see that why. Okay, and I want to go back to there we are. Okay. 798 happy prime. Okay, so we found out about this number, 47,143, and we found out that this is actually the 798th such number, and 798 happens to be the count of these 5 initials in chapter 19. Okay, namely Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. Okay, these 5 letters, Arabic letters, the usage of these Arabic letters in chapter 19 is exactly 798. Okay, so a long time ago, all that was important to us that this was a multiple of 19. It was 42 times 19. Okay, but now let's see what this actually does. This 47,143 happens to be the 21/43rd additive prime. If you notice here, this 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 8, plus 7 is 15, plus 4 is 19. So this is by definition called an additive prime. That means if you add the digits, it's going to add up to another prime number. In this case, it's a very familiar prime number, and that's 19, okay, which is the foundation of the Quranic code. Okay, so I said it here. I spelled it out for you. 4 plus 7 plus 1 plus 4 plus 3 is equal to 19, which is also a prime number. So the 19th initial surah in the Quran is 36. So that's something that we've known for a long time. If you separated the initial surahs and uninitial surah, you notice that the 19th initial surah is 36, which is called the Yasin. Okay, and now we look at the exponent of the 36 Mersin prime. Okay, if we do that, we found out that this exponent of the 36 Mersin prime is 2,976,221. What does that mean? That means that you have to multiply 2 by itself, 2,976,221 times. Okay? And then from that resulting number, you have to subtract 1. And that number becomes a prime number. The length of that number is 895,932 digits. That's how long that number is. Okay? These numbers are beyond our imagination, how big and large these numbers are. It happens that 2,976,221 is actually 173,653rd lonely prime. And this number factors out, it's a biprime, it's a semi-prime. It factors out into 211 times 823. The indices of the prime number 211 and 823 are 47 and 143. On the other hand, 619 prime number verse from the beginning of the Quran is 2143. But now notice here, in this bullet that I just said, the indices of these prime numbers are 211 and the prime numbers 211 and 823 are 47 and 143. Look at that number that we started with. We started with the first bullet, the 798 happy prime is 47,143. We actually generated that number with the Mersenne primes right here. 47,143. Can you imagine that? That's why chapter 36, which is called Yasin, is in position number 19 in the order. So this gives us reasons why. Okay? This is what I mean by generating things. And pedagogically and everything, I have not been able to actually transmit this thing to people. I cannot do this. I'm still getting numbers that let's add this one up and look at the Quran and do this one and this one and this one. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you this is what the Quran is. It's everywhere. It's not in a book. So you cannot count from that and then try to get something from there and make mistakes too. You have erroneous stuff in there and you still want to say something that it is something important. It's not. It is not important. You are doing a damage to the whole thing if you do that. Okay? You're belittling this thing. You're belittling the magnitude of this. Okay? 619th prime number verse from the beginning of the Quran is 2143. Remember I said that, 2143, okay? Right here. 47,143 is 2143. And that happens to be the 619th prime number verse from the beginning of the Quran because 43 is a prime number. Okay? But we have the following table for the mathematical properties of 2143. This number 2143 happens to be a prime number. It also happens to be a twin prime, and also happens to be a Gaussian prime. Okay, and let's look at the indices of these. Index of twin prime is 133. Index of Gaussian prime is 166. Index of prime is 324. 133 is the sum of the initials Nun in chapter 68. 166 is the frequency of Ha-Mim in chapter 44. 324 is the frequency of Ha-Mim in chapter 41. See? I didn't count it. Listen very carefully. I did not count it. What I did was I generated those. This is the way that God does things. Okay? So those people who are burning the Quran, they don't understand what they are doing. They have no idea. They think it's fashionable to do this. They equate the Quran with those people who say that they are following the Quran. They're not the same. Okay? So let's burn the Quran, and so we are going to get rid of it. You cannot get rid of it. This is the thing that God calls the mother book. This is what He calls the protected tablet. This protected tablet is not going to change. This bullet that I have here, 133, 166, 324, is not going to change. $324 also happens to be the frequency of means in Surah 43. Note that 166 is lining up with 324. As mentioned above, 166 actually is the frequency of Hamim in chapter 44, but 44 is the frequency of Ha in chapter 43. And if you add those two up, you're going to get 368. 44 plus 324 is 368. And that happens to be the frequency of Hamim in chapter 43. Okay? That's why you see that. That's why you see the breakdown of Ha and Mim. This goes back to this. These go back to the 798 happy prime. It goes back to the exponent of the 36 Mersenne prime. Okay? This number that has 895,932 digits, okay, was discovered in 1997. Listen very carefully. It was discovered in 1997. We could not explain this in 1995. Even in 1997, you were not sure that they did not miss another number before this. So it takes a couple of years for that to be verified. So you're basically saying that this discovery is the discovery of the 21st century. That means in 20th century, this could not be explained. Okay? The importance of 133 should be also added in a further role because it's a very simple thing. 133 happens to be 7 times 19. Okay? And how many Hamim initial chapters do we have? Exactly 7. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. 7 of them. And that's what signifies that. The very last initial surah in the Quran. By the virtue of lining up as the index of 2143 in this table that I just showed. This table right there. Index of twin prime. It happens to be twin prime, which is 2143. Its index is 133. They line up with 166 and 324, which has to do something with the Hamim initial chapters. So as I said, recall that 2143 is actually the 619th prime number verse in the Quran. 619 happens to be the 114th prime number, which is the number of surahs in the Quran. Okay. 114th composite happens to be 150, and 150 is the frequency of Mim in Surah 44. This leads to this fact. Again, we are generating this thing. So, this table. Surah number, frequency of Mim, frequency of Ha plus Mim. Now, one is composite, the other one is the index of those composites. 44 is a composite, its index is 29. 150 is a composite, its index is 114. 16, which is the number of Ha in chapter 44, 16 is a composite and its index is 9. 166 is a composite and its index is 127. So you read those numbers of the indices. 29, 114, 9, 127. It tells you what? Referring to 29 initial surahs, 114 total surahs, and 9 has 127 verses. Okay. This comes straight from the number of Hamim in chapter 44. If you look at the Quran, you notice that chapter 19 was actually the 44th surah that was revealed. So you see the connection between 114 and chapter 19 in the Quran. Okay? This is absolutely amazing. Okay, so I've talked about this before. Now I'm gonna stop here and finish this unit, and then we're going to get to the second, and I'm going to describe some more. Okay. الله الكبير سبحان ربي العظيم الله الكبير الله الكبير سبحان ربي الأعلى الله الكبير الله الكبير سبحان ربي الأعلى الله الكبير الله الكبير بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الله الكبير. Okay, very well. I'm going to go ahead and continue now, and I'm going to say what happened, okay? It's actually the last day of Ramadan. I found out about this, and this is amazing. Basically, a divine typo that caused another revelation of the Quran. Okay? So, remember now, the 173,653rd lonely prime is 2,976,221, which is the exponent of the 36th Mersenne prime, which was discovered in 1997. Okay? As I told you that, okay? So again, in 1997, you cannot describe this because you would not be sure that this is actually, you haven't missed any other Mersenne prime before this. Okay? As I say, it takes a few years for that to be cleared. And my point is that this is essentially a 21st century discovery in number theory. Okay? All right. So we did that. We did this exercise. 173,653 actually happens to be a semi-prime, and it's 211 times 823. Okay? And the indices of these prime numbers are 47 and 143. So my mistake was that somehow I put 143 before 47. And somewhere before this, I actually called that one to be 2143rd additive prime. Okay? It still adds up to 19. 3 plus 4 plus 1 plus 4 plus 7, it still adds up to 19. But I put 143 before 47, which was wrong. It's a typo. Then what I did was I went ahead and looked at this, and this happens to be that 14347 is also a prime number. And since the number of digits would not change, it would still add up to 19 and still would be an additive prime. And it happens to be the 808th additive prime. But look what 808 is. 808 verse in the Quran is 619. Can you imagine this? These numbers came from the 36 Mersenne prime. The numbers I'm telling you came from there. So the knowledge had to be there 1400 years ago that somehow these things have these kind of properties. Okay? Listen to the outrageous way that some people could think. Okay? That somehow people knew about this. Okay? Happens to be the 808, but as I said, 808 verse in the Quran is 619. Okay? Let's just let's just go there and find 808. There it is. And now let's see what it says actually. It's a famous verse 619. It says, say, what is the greatest as a testimony? Say, God testifies between me and you and all of you. Furthermore, he has inspired this Quran to me in order to warn you therewith. And whoever receives it, do you indeed testify that there are other gods with God? Say, I do not testify like you. Indeed, he is the one God, and I am surely far removed from setting up partners for God. Okay? So, can you imagine? Can you imagine the literal magnitude of this verse? Now you appreciate this a lot more. A testimony has to be for God alone and no one else. Okay? You cannot mention other names in the testimony with the name of God. Do you indeed testify that there are other gods with God? Okay? Say, I do not testify like you. Indeed, he is one God, and I am surely far removed from what you set up as partners for God. Okay. Any partnership in bringing testimony along with God is by definition a shirk, which means that you actually bringing up a partner for God. And that's what God says. You cannot do that. And look at the mathematics. Okay, so here we go. Let me just go ahead and finish this. 808. So let's see what 808 is now. 808 prime happens to be 62:11. And Surah 62 has 11 verses. And you find out that 62 is called Al-Jum'ah. And that's exactly what we are doing today. Can you imagine now that you know the gravity of 808, how much more this Friday prayers gains importance in your sight? That you have done the right thing by dialing this number? The 1/14th index additive prime happens to be 808 plus 6211, which is equal to 7019. 7019 is the numerical value of the verse 9127. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the magnitude of this number? Where did I get it from? See? We got it from the fact that the 36 Mersenne prime actually produced these two numbers for us, 47 and 143. Okay? And that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. But anyway, you can go ahead and read also 21:43, chapter 21, verse 43, and see what it says. It says along the same thing that it says. As a matter of fact, let's go and do that. Okay, here. 41:43. God has definitely eased our task. He said that, do you have gods beside us who can protect them? Do they have gods beside us who can protect them? They cannot even help themselves, and they cannot be protected from us. Okay? Again, along the same lines, worship God alone. As I said, all of these verses, God says, worship God alone. And if we don't do that, we see the tragedies that we face every day in this world. Okay? And you be your own judge. And they keep saying that they follow the Bible and this and the other. Go ahead and put those things in front of you, the 10 Commandments, and see how many of those 10 Commandments you violate every day. And then you say, God bless you. How could God bless you if you do that? If you violate every one of those commandments, start with the first one, that thou shalt not have no other God before me. Don't say any other names beside my name. Okay. That's what he's telling us. And people violate that all the time. And then they steal, they cheat, they commit adultery, they lie. Okay. They covet. Okay. All of those things follows from that. And then you go down, you be your own judge. Forget about everybody else. Okay, I violate this, and then what do I expect? Okay. Very well, I'm going to stop here and we'll finish our Jumlah. Allah Kabir.